It's like, sure, I guess there is a point, there is a reason to just like, you know, grow in silence and then talk about it afterwards. But I feel like the process is such a monumental thing and it deserves to be documented. And it's also like accepting the in-between stages of a transformation, I guess. Because it's easy when you're in a transition period and you're in between these two states, like a limbo stage, where your goal, you consciously are trying to embody a certain thing logically, but somatically your body is not yet adjusted to that, and so you're dealing with like knowing, okay, everything is energy, but how do I can't force myself to not feel this immense terror or discomfort, or I don't know, just this way you've been wired to behave for like years, decades. Like it's an interesting experience, and you can't just accept that because now you know. So it's not as easy as before you knew, when you were just the way you were, the way you adapted, and you didn't really, there wasn't that tension because you that's all you knew, and you didn't think it was possible to be any other way. And you know it's possible to fully transition into that state of being because you've done it before a few times actually, but some things are more difficult than others, that's for fucking sure. I get this flow, it's kind of a responsibility at this point that I have to just follow it. And I can't force it, like I can't, when the feeling comes, I have to follow it. And even if that means I just fucking change up my cool ass outfit and here painting, eating pistachios and shit in this dude's apartment who I met like over a year ago at an art show, and we had like a conversation for, I don't know, 10-20 minutes, and that was like the only prior in-person experience we've had. And then we just talked online, and then now I'm here and I'm like staying with him for a few days. This is nothing new for me in my lifestyle, but it's definitely not the norm. And today has been a day full of pondering and writing and thinking, because, you know, it's recently I've not been the most social person. I've been very much just in my, like, monk mode as fuck, and I watched a YouTube video opinion day that was about the psychology of the quiet kids, and as someone who was a quiet kid for a lot of my childhood, pretty much all of it, and only recently, past few years, have I branched out more, but even then, not fully feeling that full comfortability and freedom and just being myself like how I am when I'm alone. But right now, just with the camera. Anytime I get the opportunity to do something that scares the shit out of me, or makes me like no, I do it. I have to do it. I have to do it. I make myself do it, and then I never regret it when I do that. And I feel like that's been my shit recently. I've just been as soon as I get opportunities, I fucking take it. That's why this last weekend I just went to fucking NorCal, super NorCal, and stayed at a farm for like a night with a woman that I met in Laos. And it was the most beautiful experience, but of course it was like inconvenient as shit because it was a long drive, and it was like all this hassle, and I know we aren't really close, and like we aren't really, I mean, when I say we aren't really close, because we've only seen each other like one previous time in real life, the rest have been online, and I mean, the conversations we have, depth, like we know each other very fucking well, but despite the short amount of time we've known each other, that was a mouthful. Even as I speak right now, it's like, there are things I wanted to say, and it's like, do I search for the things I wanted to say, or do I just say whatever I want to say? I remember it now. Okay. In that video I talked about previously, about the psychology of quiet kids. At the end, the conclusion was somewhat of a ways like that I don't know, it made me start questioning if it made me question in all sorts of directions. One of them is it really your nature if it's an adaptation to conditions you never deserved to go through? Is that something you should just embrace and accept? Is that I'm just this way now, I'm just a quiet person? What if you aren't? Like, I don't know, that's just like, even though that's how you are currently, like, understanding the root of it is really important. And that's my question, is like, yeah, it would be easier if I didn't try to fight it, and I just like, it's like, this is who I am, I don't talk, unless I feel comfortable. And it's like, but being uncomfortable is so fucking important and necessary for growth, and like, I have things to say. It's just, it doesn't really come up when I'm like not comfortable. Like, it's strange. It's a strange thing to have that disconnect, but I know it's like the most human fucking thing ever. But I did like the point of the video that it was like talking about like people with quiet natures and these potential solutions that more so embrace quiet people rather than dismiss them. And then it also, like, so that's one thought, but the other thought I had in the other direction was, what if I think this way just because we live in a world that is so like, you have to be loud to be heard. And maybe that's just got my thinking like, oh, I need to be a certain way. And it's like, I don't know, just maybe it makes me go in both directions. I don't know. I really don't know. But I think it doesn't have to be one way or the other. I think it's a black and white thing. Like, that quote, oh my god, I'm always pulling out quotes, but that quote that's like, you can't, like, it's like you gotta love yourself to change. And it's like, once I accept myself as I am, then I can change. And I think that's interesting. I think that's not interesting. I mean, I've seen it for myself, but I know, like I said earlier in the video, like, if you should really accept things if it's just because of the way you adapted to the trauma response. I think that is currently the current challenge being presented to me at the moment is because I understand the origin of these things, not resenting them for it. And you know, what you resist persists, and so learning to accept the ways I have adapted to certain things rather than just being like, bro, fuck this. and then being able to like see what happens if I did that, see what happens if I just accept it, because I think there's that fear there, it's like, if I accept it, I won't, like, I'll go back to just being like complicit, I guess. And that could be an experiment right there. I mean, you can't unknow something, so I don't think it would really be possible for me to go back to being like complicit. I I think it's really interesting how this piece, or these two pieces, are about entering a dream. And I had the idea to do it like this, to do like the piece zooming in, the composition, and the next piece being the zoomed in version of the composition that you can zoom in even further in a fucking dream. And then it's about a dream. It's the whole thing is about dreams. And it's like, oh, it's so cool. And then I did it all in like, came up with it all in a day, no plan, nada, and I'm finishing it on the second day. And I don't know, I just, low-key beast mode, low-key, art god. Yeah, that's my fucking TED talk. Peace out. I need to focus. Because when I'm talking, it's hard for me to focus on what I'm doing. I'm just kind of like mindlessly putting strokes down. So we're not gonna do that. Peace out.